Hello and welcome everyone to another segment on Jay's Neck Repair. We're going to do something a little different in this episode, and we're going to do a PC build. Desktop PC, and like most of them, they are for gaming. Productivity could be in mind, but this is a special gift for a family of mine, and we have a new environment to work in, so we're going to give it a shot. There is different acoustics in here, so let me know if the sound is not up to par. So let's start off with our case. We got the Masterbox MB600L V2. And what's cool about this case is, of course, you can't see it underneath these jarring labels, but there is an ODD slot. And that's cool because they want to use discs, whether it's CD, DVD, Blu-ray, M-Disc, is anyone using that? And you know, you still get all your modern amenities like a sleek looking case, tempered glass, good build quality and build room, and some, you know, RGB action. I don't know why, but Amazon, you can see they were not too kind with this box. I kind of taped over it to make it look nice. I'm going to actually have to ship the computer in this box when I'm done, so I was hoping it'd be in better shape, but it is what it is. This is a new case. That's how it comes. We're going to go with the Ryzen 5800X CPU here, and this is not the 3D variant. 3D variant is about another $150 at the time of filming this. Just wasn't worth it, but we're getting really solid 8-core, 16-thread performance out of this chip. The Ryzen the AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT. Another great GPU, 12 gigabytes VRAM. This is the reference model, but to be honest, I'm a bigger fan of this one than some of the other variants that I've seen. And I did choose AMD over Intel or NVIDIA, as I am very much interested in AMD's, I think, Infinity Fabric, or whatever they're calling it, where if you have the same GPU and CPU AMD, there's actually some bonus performance there. And really just, this is more productivity focused than gaming. So I really thought AMD would be the better bet here, but you can feel free to correct me in the comments. We have a cooler here, Hyper 212 Black Edition, ESU EVGA 650 watt gold. It's the GA series Supernova. For our motherboard, we actually have the Asus ProArt B550 Creator, and what's really cool and revolutionary about this is that it has Thunderbolt 4 ports on this guy, okay? And why that's impressive is, well, most motherboards don't have Thunderbolt to begin with. This is typically a premium feature on more expensive boards, but Thunderbolt is a product of Intel, and this is an AMD, obviously, board. So one of the first, not the first, but really cool board with Thunderbolt built in and some other neat features. I went with the Arctic F12. This is like phenomenal fans. Sound was a big consideration for this build. So you see we have the Hyper 212. It's not the RGB. It's kind of plain black, but with a Silencio fan. And the same thing with these Arctic fans. They're super high performance, but low volume, low decibels. And that was very important for the intended recipient. And this was supposed to be new open box from Amazon, but it's not. So this is the Arctic Fan Hub. So we can actually use all of these. This is 5 fans, and then there's CPU cooler. The WH16 NS40, that's a mouthful, but it's a Blu-ray drive from LG, 16 times read speed, or write speed, I forget which one. But what's cool about this one is, with proper care, you can actually rip 4K Blu-ray discs. So there's some quirks with that, but yeah. Oh yeah, some RAM. T-Force, this is great, amazing value. 3200 megahertz, 32 gigabytes of CL16 RAM from T-Force with a kind of metal gray heatsink on it. And then we have, this is just a PCIe to, what do they call it, M.2 or NGNFF Wi-Fi adapter. And then for the Wi-Fi card, we're actually going with the AX201 NGW. And that you're getting AX Wi-Fi, I forget how many upstreams, downstreams channels, but they don't actually care about that. They just wanted to have Bluetooth as an option. So I think this is either Bluetooth 4.2 or 5.0. So perfect. And then for our SSD, we got SX8200 Pro 2 terabyte. This is Gen 3, and it's not Gen 4 because price just wasn't really worth it going up. This is going to be enough for most people's needs, and I found that a high-end Gen 3 NVMe is better than a low-end Gen 4 NVMe, and so that's why I really went with this one. And like I said, it will be enough. And then, as you notice, there's not a whole lot of RGB or even lights going on in this build, so I also opted for these two RGB LED light strips from, what is it, Seahorse? What do they call themselves? Asia Horse? Something weird like that, but it's actually, yeah, Asia Horse, you can see the horse there. It's actually a very good brand. These were highly reviewed, so I'm going to put one at the top and the bottom. It's got like a diamond look, and it should look good. It should look good. Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut, great stuff. Use it for almost everything. Let's take a look at this case. Okay, I think there is a film on the front. I was gonna say, that's very strange for them not to put a film on the front. I'm really liking what I see. There's some good airflow vents on the front, even though it's a solid panel. And you can see here's where the ODD is gonna go. It's plastic front, but it's got a nice brushed look to it. Yeah, maybe there's some stuff in the back. A little bit, not a whole lot. You can see we got our cables here. It's neatly managed. It's nice. Some zip ties. Okay, that's about what I expected. Some extra rubber. What do you call them? Washers, screws, motherboard pegs, and yeah, that's about it. And some tasty silica gel. I should read the enclosed instruction book. Okay, we're going to start to assemble the motherboard. Probably should just take this off so I don't forget. Look at all those ports. Isn't that just beautiful? Thunderbolt 4, Thunderbolt 4. Alright, well, let's go for this CPU now. Alrighty. We could probably do our SSD next. So I got one that had the heatsink pre-applied, and it doesn't look like I can get it off. So I hope that's not going to be an issue. I mean, it is just a heatsink on a heatsink, but yeah, it'll be fine. I just don't like it. You can see where this stupid thing is imprinted in the thermal pad, my bad. Back to freshness, and let's get this opened up. Sockets AM4. Okay. Alright, well that's in place. Alright, it's time to put the CPU cooler on. You gotta go from the bottom and through, because threads are only on the bracket itself, not on the heatsink. This is the eye minus those two little legs I gave it for more of a tic-tac-toe grid. That's how you're supposed to do it on when you're putting like Loca glue between the LCD and the digitizer of a cell phone screen. And then it'll clip. Well, do the RAM. So I don't know if RAM placement matters on these Ryzen boards, man. I'm just gonna go in slot 2 and 4, or I should say 1 and 3 if they're 0 indexed. And if I need to change it later, I'll change it later. Again, this is not an instructional video because I've not done really an AMD build before. Let's do our GPU. That is so slick. It feels just premium. Okay. Now we'll get a lot more support when we install it into the... Alrighty. So this is cool. These are a dime a dozen. These are just kind of like generic Wi-Fi card adapters. They all do like the same exact thing. There's no point to shell out for a really fancy one unless you know what you're getting. Such a precision cut though, I have to say. So for these like mini IPEX connectors, I forget what they're called exactly. They're really hard to properly get the antennas on. So when I line them up, I like to use like a flat head like in the horizontal direction, and just kind of press it in once I line it up. So, and then it looks like, I don't think it's really a heat sink so much as it is a shroud. I mean, it might do some heat conduction. Okay, we're gonna put this probably in this guy here so that we don't interfere with those fans. Not that we would interfere that much even if. Alrighty, so we have one fan already in there. That's nice of them. However, we're not going to use it. Might have to go fish out some more screws if this Arctic pack doesn't come with some. And then the fans. You really don't want to get this guy in there until you are ready. And that's just really a beginner's mistake type deal. But you've been seeing a lot of beginner, AMD at least, mistakes today, so... Plug in a power cable. Now we need to probably get some fans in there. It's just become such a pain in the butt. This little smartphone. Well, I guess technically 9, and then it goes to the motherboard. I don't know. So, typically like to put it like somewhere in here because it's like as centralized as you can get it. So if we put it there, it's magnetic. Yeah. I don't even have slots. This is actually a nice hub. I'm an idiot. I like to try things. Okay. I guess I'll orient it like this. I mean, doesn't really matter. I guess I have a lot more freedom now that they're magnets, but not so much for it to be, kind of snug in place. Alright, I'm going to punch out the front panel now. Just probably these 2 clips. No screws, but that's okay. It looks like this one's not even designed to be used with screws. Let's actually size out these RGB strips. Supposed to be magnetic. Let's see. That's reasonably magnetic. And then as for up top, will that work? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think I'm going to go under the GPU for the cable. Yeah, this is always the worst part of any PC build, the cable management, but particularly the GPU cable. Other than like the EVGA NVIDIA GPUs, EVGA only makes NVIDIA GPUs, but they have a power link that they make for some of their older models, and I guess very recently some very, very select models they make. There is nothing to make cables look good coming out of this GPU. I mean, you can get fancy RGB braided cables, but it's still cables. I mean, the most ideal build is you don't see cables, and I don't know why we're still decades behind with this part of PC building. Also, my least favorite is plugging in the CPU cable, because CPU pins, they're just really, really hard. They're really hard to reach usually with the VRM's cooling solutions and heat sinks. Just impossible. So I think for that Bluetooth USB 2.0, I'm just going to bring it under. I'm going to go out and then back in. I mean, it's literally the only thing I can do. I wish there was more I could do. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It's going straight out, so I've definitely seen worse. This might be a good case of worse. We will see. Okay, what am I doing? Hey, whatever, buddy. Warranty void if removed. Who wants that on there? Yeah. It's going to protrude a little bit. Oh, she lives. I really wish there were some more RGB fans here, but this will have to do. Kind of like it. You can, we got the RGB in there, and then just the ominous Radeon here, and that very bright BIOS light. What looks like. So last but not least, I would actually like to show the computer I was originally going to get him. Them, I should say. On the left is this giant silver tower, cheese grater thing. And look at the inside. Not a whole lot to see, but what we're looking at is pretty cool. This is a 12-core Xeon processor. It's actually 2 processors. It runs at about 3.46 gigahertz. In multi-core, this puts it on par with about the 7700K, which you might know is a 4-core processor. Well, how can that be? Well, this computer is technically from like 2009, updated to the 2012 specification. Ironically, this is like the most popular Mac of all time as far as desktops, and it runs the latest Mac OS as well as the latest Windows quite seamlessly, actually. And we also have, and a single core perspective though, this lags even further behind. I think it's more in the line of like a 4th gen, I don't know, i5, i7, something like that, and maybe even worse. But it also has 128 gigs of RAM, and that's only at 1333 megahertz as opposed to like the 3200 on ours here. So that's a lot of RAM, but again, not super fast speed. It is ECC, which is nice. Up here we have that's the RX Vega 64, 8 gigabytes. So ironically, this is the what the heck did I get in? The 6700 XT is faster, more memory, and uses less power. But this is like the best GPU you can get for this model, with the big asterisk, and that's if you want to update the Mac OS, then there's better ones. But if you don't, for certain reasons, like running legacy apps and hardware, then this is your best bet. And then we have 2 terabyte NVMe in here under this heatsink. Then we have 4 by USB 3.0, and then we also have Thunderbolt 3, and this is the Gigabyte Alpine Ridge card. and it's been flashed to the Mac Pro, so it actually gives native Thunderbolt to Mac OS and Mac Pro, which is huge. And they basically said it couldn't be done for the longest time. So this never came to fruition for a couple of reasons, but the biggest one is they couldn't get the most out of it. Mac OS is not really their thing, and that's fine. I'd rather give them something they like than something they don't. Ironically, this is probably worth a whole lot more than what I paid for new and all of this, so I'm not complaining. Once I get this properly running, it will be good. It's got Bluetooth 4.2 plus AC Wi-Fi, and I believe that's where it's not working right now. I think I actually fried the Bluetooth chip trying to wiring it incorrectly. But you can see it's really, really cool. This is just like a server tray you can take out, and you can see the 2 CPUs and 8 sticks of 16 gigs of RAM. And in here, there is the airport card and some of the wiring I did on that. And then you gotta understand, before I go over this next part, I paid the exact same for these 2 units. I got some insane deals in this, and I did a lot of the hard work myself. And I guess before I show you anymore, I should tell you that using a really power-hungry graphics card like this on this machine requires you to do a very extensive mod to the GPU, or I'm sorry, the PSU, and that's called the Pixels mod. And you can see it. Oh no, you can't see it, my bad. But basically, you've got to tap into all of the cables going into the PSU to get proper power draw, and then have this auxiliary cable come down here to power the GPU. That was a crap ton of work. So if you didn't see up here, we also have a 128 gigabyte SSD, and that's there for weird reasons I'm not going to explain right now. And then a Pioneer, and this is a native Ultra HD, and I don't know, it's weird. I don't know how I managed to find one, but they're getting quite rare. And then in our first bay, we have 500 gigabyte SSD. This is like one of the best OWC has to offer, which is like a big Mac in-house brand name. Then in here we have a 4 terabyte white label, 7200 RPM, and that was to be the first person's drive. And then the second person's drive was another 4 terabyte white label, 7200. And then this last drive was just a 2 terabyte green that was meant to be a backup drive. So, man, I was really hoping this would come to be. Frankly, this is, and if they're not running macOS, this is probably better all around for the most part. I mean, yeah, this has got more RAM and storage space, but faster RAM, much faster RAM, and they didn't really seem to need that much storage as I was thinking. So yeah, that's really it for this guy. Gotten the goods. It's going out.